Hey there, and welcome. We're about to dive into one of the most exciting fields in technology today, machine learning. Now, I know it might sound super complex, but it's actually already a huge part of your daily life in ways you might not even realize. So let's jump right in. So let's get right to it. What is machine learning? Forget the complicated textbook definitions for a second. Instead, just think about the tech you use every single day.
You know when you're scrolling through Netflix and it feels like it's reading your mind? That's no accident. That's machine learning, analyzing what you watch to serve up the perfect next movie.
Or how about something that feels like straight up science fiction, like a self-driving car navigating a chaotic city street? That incredible magic is all powered by machine learning, making millions of tiny decisions every single second.
And of course, there's the one everyone is talking about right now. When you ask ChatGPT a question and get a response that feels shockingly human, well, you're chatting directly with a seriously sophisticated machine learning model.
Okay, so those are the big, flashy examples. But what's really amazing is that machine learning is quietly working away in the background of your life. In fact, you've probably got it right there in your pocket. I mean, think about it. That perfect weekly playlist Spotify builds just for you, that's machine learning that's learned your taste in music. Or your email spam filter that just knows what's junk and what's important, ML again. Even when Google Maps finds you a faster route to avoid a surprise traffic jam, you guessed it, all of these things are powered by machine learning, humming away behind the scenes. So, the big question is, how is all of this possible? Well, it all comes down to a huge shift in how we think about programming computers. We're moving away from giving them step-by-step instructions for everything, and we're starting to teach them how to learn. And this right here, this is the absolute game changer. See, in traditional programming, a person writes the rules. You feed in some data, the rules process it, and you get an output. Simple. Rules plus data equals output. But machine learning flips that entire idea on its head. Get this. You give the machine the data and the answers, and it works backward to figure out the rules all by itself. It's learning from experience, pretty much just like we do. How cool is that? Okay, so if we're teaching machines how to learn, then how do they study? Well, there are two main ways. The first one is a lot like being a student in a classroom, and it's called supervised learning. The key phrase here is labeled data, and all that really means is we give the algorithm a whole bunch of examples where we already know the right answer. Seriously, the best way to think about it is like a teacher and a student. The labeled data is like a giant stack of flashcards. The teacher shows the algorithm thousands of examples saying, yep, this is correct, or nope, that's incorrect, over and over again until the algorithm starts to spot the patterns for itself. A classic example is trying to predict house prices. You'd feed the machine data for thousands of houses. You'd tell it their size, location, number of bedrooms, and critically, you'd also tell it the final price they sold for. Eventually, it learns the connections between those features and the price, so it can make a really good guess on a new house it's never seen before. But what if you don't have all the answers? What if you've just got this huge, messy pile of data with no labels? Well, that's where our second style comes in. It's called unsupervised learning, and this time, the machine acts less like a student and a lot more like a detective. With this approach, there are no labels, no teacher giving out the answers. You literally just hand the algorithm all this raw data and tell it, go figure it out, find something interesting in there. And that detective analogy is just perfect. The algorithm starts sifting through all the evidence, all the data, and it starts grouping things that seem related, all on its own. It's discovering hidden connections without anyone telling it what to look for. A great real-world use for this is in marketing. A company can feed all its customer data into an unsupervised model, and that model might automatically identify different groups, like, say, weekend shoppers, or bargain hunters, or maybe new parents. This lets the company create marketing that's way more targeted and effective. So we've got learning with a teacher and learning like a detective. Now, what happens when you take these core ideas and you just scale them way, way up? Well, that's when you unlock the foundation for something even more powerful. And this brings us to the real cutting edge, deep learning. This uses these super intricate structures called neural networks, which are actually inspired by our own human brains. This allows them to tackle problems that are so complex, we once thought they were impossible for a machine to solve. And that brings us right back to where we started. All those mind-blowing applications, those wild augmented reality filters on Snapchat, the incredibly sophisticated system in a Tesla that helps it drive, and of course, the conversational genius of models like GPT. Yep, those are all triumphs of deep learning. So, from your inbox to self-driving cars, machine learning is definitely not some futuristic concept anymore. It's an everyday reality. The fundamental shift is clear. We've gone from telling computers exactly what to do to enabling them to learn for themselves. With that kind of power, the possibilities are just endless. Which really leaves just one question. What will you teach a machine?